the scope of the issue is so heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking. Like, how can we be okay with everyday lives, dead coffins of dead brothers and sisters are arriving every day? And how can we be okay with it, right? And we have enough manpower and resources, human resources, to actually want to do something about it. And our at least our hope can be, okay, let them go in a healthy manner, come back in a healthy manner.
Hello and namaste. This is Preeti Pandey Adhikari, the founder of the Great Nepali Diaspora, a community of global Nepali talent. This is season 4 of TGND Beats, Diaspora Ka Kurakani, where we share human stories of struggle, perseverance, and success. And today we have two very, very special guests, ones that I have been really trying to get on our podcast, Pooja Sherchan and Shailendra Sharma. Both are medical doctors by profession, but they're also social change makers. So let's welcome them. Pooja Diju, Shailendra Dai, thank you for joining us.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Super excited. Both of you have incredible experience doing so much. Tara, let's start with your day jobs. Who is Pooja and who is Shailendra?
Wow,
Pooja Diju, you can start.
well, that's a big question, right? It's like, I guess we wear many hats and we wear many garbs. And so right now I'm actually on a year-long sabbatical or a year off. And so my day job right now is a stay-at-home mom. And, I'm a single mom, so I'm just taking care of my son. And I'm taking care of the home, and I'm taking care of Ghar. So I'm actually taking care of, if you can say so, like 2 Ghars at this time, and that's my current identity. Yep, that's who I am right now.
Hi there, Ani. Mazai Shailendra. My part-time job is I'm a nephrologist by training and a hypertension specialist. But my full-time job is at home, where I'm a father and a husband. Take care of second Ghar, than the one that Pooja just mentioned. And I'm based out in the Midwest, in the middle of Michigan. So that's where.
Awesome. No, I love that. These are like the priorities you have and what you're building at Ghar ko pani. We'll talk a little bit more. Tara maybe oileko lagi share a little bit in terms of your childhood and youth. Nepalma चाहिँ how it shaped you into the person you are, personal level ma pani and also professionally.
I grew up in Kathmandu, and certainly I tell my kids not surrounded by so much of abundance.
Right.
I got into medical school on a scholarship, and I brag about this all the time. We probably went to, and we probably could get to the word probably. I certainly went to one of the cheapest medical school training known in the history of mankind.
Right.
And so there's been this sense of, I came here in 2003. Ever since, the first few years were full of challenges and how to get into residency, how to get fellowship, how to settle. But after that was done, there was a constant desire to give back. It was a sense of guilt. We used all the taxpayers' money. I went to a medical school and used up all the taxpayers' money. Like, how can I be of use? How can I put my knowledge and my skill set that I've acquired here for the benefit of Nepal and Nepali people? So I think that kind of summarizes why I am doing this and why I want to do this.
A quick follow-up, Azulai. Did you always want to be a doctor?
The short-worded answer is no. I wanted to be an engineer. I wanted to be I wanted to go into advertisement, believe it or not.
Wow.
It had such a way that I was admitted to engineering college in India in a scholarship to study metallurgical engineer. I could be somewhere in New Zealand.
Your life would have been so different, right?
Taking gold out of that ore. thought of, like, incidentally, there was a strike in the engineering college, and this is me after getting my train tickets from Gorakhpur to Nagpur and whatnot. I got a telex. It used to be telex back in the day.
Right.
Saying that, hey, we have a strike. You have provisionally been admitted. Just come back in about 4 weeks. So that sort of opened up a window for me to take that medical entrance exam. And that's how I went to medical school.
Completely different trajectory. It's like amazing.
Something new I learned. I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Pooja, so tell us about yours, your experience.
My childhood, I think, relatively speaking, from the sort of life experience I have now, I think I grew up in quite a bubble in Kathmandu, but my parents were self-made people, so they like to say. They were from two very different backgrounds. One was a Brahmin and one was a Thakali. And so we grew up in a very multicultural household. Mm-hmm. And my parents was very busy because, initially they were trying to make it on their own. They didn't really have the financial bandwidth not to take things seriously. So they were working a lot. Mm-hmm. But luckily we had a very loving, huge extended family, both sides, that helped to raise us. So our childhood, for most part, was pretty good, I think, for most part, of course.
Right.
And it was, I think, as I went to medical school, that's when my world opened up. And I started seeing what's out there. And, I've always been a very sensitive person. And, so exposure to pain has many different level of response from individuals, right? Some of us can empathize really quickly, and then we want to fix things. We somehow suffer from this messiah syndrome that I just came to know about recently.
Right.
I want to do something about it. You feel like you're accountable. And I was also the oldest of the grandchild in both sides of the family, with 10 grandchildren one side and 13 grandchildren. So me and my sister Prarthana, we were always the older ones, and we always thought that we were responsible for the brood. And I think so once I went to medical school, I started exploring the world. And also, I had people in my life who were very much into, I wouldn't say social work, but public service and doing something for the community. Like Thakali people by themselves do a lot for the community. They really are organized. And so that value has been instilled in us from my father's side of the family. And then my mother's side of the family, my grandmother was such an inspiring, influential person in my life. And she always devoted her life to public service. And she always told us stories about people, until the very end, in her in late 80s, she was still working to do something good for someone, so she and my dad at the time, they've been really inspirational for me. And then my work and my exposure as a physician, you see so much pain on a daily basis.
Of course.
And then I got married to Krishna, who opened my world to the bigger Nepal. Krishna went to Buranikanta school through all scholarship. And so through him, I realized what, the lives of bigger Nepal is like on a day-to-day basis. Right. And he really wanted to do, like, he was at a stage in life when he passed about 2 years ago, that he really wanted to wrap up his life here and was in a process of going back to Nepal and having 2 foot in the door, 1 foot here, 1 foot there, and doing something there. And, so he felt very strongly about giving back. And so I was married to a man who had those values. And then I innately have that value too. So we've reached a point in life where survival is not a concern so much. And we are moved by things that needs to be fixed and can be fixed, Right. So I don't know if that sort of explains a long-winded way of explaining.
It does. I'm going to add a few things.
Yeah.
एउटा चाहिँ especially Pooja दिजुको चाहिँ St. Mary's-मा everybody knew you, right, as the captain, and you always had this leadership qualities. We always looked up to you, and I think nobody that knew you, बच्चादेखि, would be surprised at the kind of things you're doing. So one is that, and two is a thank you for sharing also personal part of things. Pani, I know it's not easy. But I think I have to admit that you're one of the rare people that are able to channel something that is, grief at a personal level, that channel that into passion and help other people, okay? Because it is so easy to, a lot of people, I think, deal with grief differently, that it's so easy to take that and just be a victim and, all of that, right? That my interactions with you, limited by what I've seen you, whether it's, you leading this initiative or, other circumstances, I think you're great at giving that spotlight to other people. And, we'll talk a little bit more in terms of, the dynamics the two of you have and what you're building and all of that, I really have to give kudos to you, because Theo is so rare to see that somebody actually is able to channel that pain into something that's so precious and so amazing.
You make me sound so amazing. I'm like, who is she talking about? No, it's hard. Grief is processed in so many different ways. And then it's not processed at one sprint. It's processed piecemeal and things trigger it. But, Ghar happened and, I did find a way of channelizing my loss into something, hopefully a gain for so much more, so many people, and then I have to give Shailendra the credit of, introducing the concept of, and the whole story. Like, I had no idea, and I'll let Shailendra talk more about what I mean by this.
Yes, let's talk about Ghar, what it means. And to start with, how did the two of you meet, actually? How did this initiative get started?
We met like 2 decades ago. Shailendra and I were in Chicago. We were friends for 2 decades now, right? And we've known each other for a long time. And, we were both training in Chicago, and we were hangout buddies almost every weekend. We partied a lot together. So, and we've sort of followed each other's lives as we've gone in different directions, and always like sort of took advice from each other and sort of knew what each one was up to. All these last two. I don't want to delve into details of any of that, but we've been friends for a long time. And he's been telling me about the situation for more than 3 years now, that, hey, there's these dead bodies are arriving in Trivandrum International Airport, and people are dying, and these migrant workers don't have adequate protection, and they're coming back with kidney failure. We got to come to the bottom of this. I think it's the working condition that they're subjected to, high heat, and many other things that we need to figure out. And so I was like, okay, this is important. Let's do something about it. So we've been talking about this for a while. Meanwhile, he's been doing a lot of advocacy work through many different organizations as part of, writing articles in collaboration with Amnesty and, with collaboration with Nepal Development Society. He's been doing other works. And about 2 years ago, because things were not kind of stuck and not moving, I got Nisha Thapa on board because she's very good at facilitating things. She's really good at casting a wider net, and people trust her, and I trust her. And I was like, Nisha, let's get this moving. It's kind of stagnant. And so she immediately got on board, recruited 2 wonderful USMLE applicants, physicians, Nasatya and Pooja. We collaborate with NEDS, and then we did that first research that made a lot of noise and said, hey, this is the problem, because whether this is a problem or not itself was contested by authorities. That, people going to very hot climates like Gulf and Malaysia and coming back with kidney failure, is that really happening? People didn't really validate that, anecdotes from many authorities and physicians. So we had to come up with some sort of a prevalence data, which we were able to last year. And then this year, we were like, okay, so I think we need to be more organized. Let's incorporate an organization, because we do have a core team who feel passionately about this. with Shailendra infecting us with the passion, and that infection slowly spreading to a wide range of people, like
This is a
even
good
you,
infection,
right? And we're building a larger team. So
of course.
we said, okay, let's make this formal. I think we're ready. So we have a core team, we have a board, and we are at a point where we're going to sort of carve out the direction that we want to take, and in terms of what our near-term goals are and what our long-term vision is, all of that. So still at this nascent stage, but I think Ghar is here to stay. That's what I feel.
I love that. I mean, just the name itself, is
Yes.
is there, and then what it stands for in terms of advocacy, research, all of that, right? I think one thing, especially migrant workers, everything has been so fragmented that I'm so glad that you're bringing everything under one umbrella. I think Tyopani was needed. Tara Pooja Tiju, you talked about that it's still early stage ma and so on. Tara, so far as oily हेर्दाखेरि, I'd love to get Shailendra Dai to talk about it. What are you seeing in terms of oiliko lagi? I know it's going to evolve. Tara, what are some short-term or long-term objectives of this initiative? And especially on the policy side, Matse, what are your thoughts?
Okay. I'll if when we started talking about God and when we started putting something together, we thought that there were three important pillars. Analysis, right? So we need to find out the magnitude of the problem. The huge pushback initially was when we thought this was a problem and we wanted to act upon it. The pushback that we got was, it is not even a problem. So as Mark Twain once famously said, that it's just an opinion unless it's backed by data.
Right.
So हामी समस्याको समाधान खोजेर यसलाई कसरी मिटिगेट गर्न सकिन्छ भनेर गएको मान्छे, we had to start from the basic, trying to characterize. So that's how अघि पूजाले भनेको study saying that's how we had to do, or why we had to do, just to kind of put this issue on the map. Analysis भन्नाले अब as a stepping stone, say this is some sort of a cross-sectional study. It is not considered a very robust study, but at least something that would put this issue on a map so that people cannot question the existence of a problem.
Right.
If you look at, the Western world has been covering the issue of migrant workers, their lack of protection, exponentially high death. If you look at the interviews from the government officials, people had the audacity to even question that, this is not a problem. Right. People would have died even if they did not leave Nepal. So that's where analysis and that's where the need for data comes into picture. Ani हाम्रो अर्को pillar say awareness. So we want everyone to be aware, and we want everyone to be disturbed by this news.
Right.
Pooja and I have talked a lot about, we as a society we've developed this numbness. It's just a number. 2टा 5वटा 7वटा death भएर आयो भने we don't even go through that news as a society, unless there is a news of the entire village in Kadre Palanchok has only one.
Desensitized.
Exactly. So we just wanted to, rock that boat and get people be disturbed about that. This is not acceptable.
Right.
So that's what we mean by awareness. And हाम्रो short-term and long-term goal दुईटैसँग align गर्ने चाहिँ जस्तो अस्ति हामीले नेपालमा गरेको event,
right.
where we create awareness, where we want people, where we want the civic society to be a little more engaged.
Right.
And when it comes to analysis, the short term, I'd say we could do something like what we did last year, like a cross-sectional study. But in the long run, we need to create a more systematic approach towards this. I envision, and Pooja and I have talked about this, creating a registry, of कतिजना मान्छे जान्छन्, कतिजना मान्छे रोग लागेर आउँछन्, के रोग लाग्छ, what is the natural history.
And that's also public जस्तो लाग्छ के मलाई. I'm sure people have pockets of that information that there is no one central place.
Centralized.
Exactly, right?
So, and it's something that everyone should have an access to, right? This is so pivotal in terms of policy बनाउने मान्छेलाई चाहियो. अब नेगोसिएटिङ टेबलमा गएर के गरी डेस्टिनेसन कन्ट्रीलाई केही कुरा डिमान्ड गर्नु पर्यो भने what is the data?
Right, exactly.
मेरो लिमिटेड गएको केही वर्षको एक्सपिरियन्समा whenever I had an opportunity to talk to these individuals who are from the destination country, I always get a pushback. Oh, we've heard rumors that people fabricate their medical result and they come here with a disease.
Right.
So we need more accountability there. I mean, they had the audacity to say something
Exactly.
Radical like this. But at the same time, I'm so registry भएको हो भने,
Of course.
right? I mean, we know नेपालको labor marketले international ILO को म्यान्डेटलाई एकदम स्ट्रिक्टली कम्प्लाई गर्छ. सबैजना मान्छेले हेल्थ चेकअप गरेर मात्रै जान पाउँछ भनेपछि त हामीले नेपालबाट जाने युवाहरू त अदरवाइज हेल्दी थिए
Exactly.
हामी ग्राउन्ड बनाउन सक्छौँ नि. तर त्यो के छ भने त्यो सेन्ट्रलाइज डेटाबेसै छैन. दे आर अबाउट what 900 or 1,000 manpower company, as many labs, absolutely not regulated,
Exactly.
no data, so it's absolutely fragmented. So we envision some sort of a registry जहाँ चाहिँ गएर मान्छेले हुन्छ नि त यहाँ वेस्टर्न वर्ल्डमा त सबै कुराको registry हुन्छ. So if I have access to registry of what's happening in the state of Utah, I can go back and then look at anything, like on patient de-identified data. त्यस्तो खालको एउटा registry envision गर्छौँ. At the same time, we are also open to collaborating with anyone and everyone. You know, whether this is a population scientist, you are a researcher, you have some bench ideas, you are a migrant worker activist, you work for Amnesty, you know, you wear occupational safety hat. Anyone, everyone who wants to work together to protect. So we're open to that. I touched upon analysis, awareness, and then the advocacy.
Right.
So these are the three pillars. I think we clearly don't have a clearly demarcated short-term and long-term. But our ultimate wish list, if we could create something based on and kind of forward on that analysis, build on that, and create data, and then ultimately to create a data-driven policy change. I think
Exactly.
that is the ultimate prize that we have our eyes on.
Right. And to add to that, I think the other thing is that what we want to do is grassroots, empowering the grassroots, because, you know, in the process of getting everything right, the system all improved, we don't want any more lives lost. So I think this year, our short-term goal is to be, how can we create these bite-sized information that we can disseminate to the grassroots in a language and platform that they consume from and consume in. So that is something, I'm putting it out there because through your network, I know we need like people who develop like social media contents, artists, writers, all of that, because we got to be able to do that. Like, and the good thing is, International Labour Organization have recently published a really good comprehensive document, which outlines all the different initiatives that have successfully been, put together and executed in different parts of the world to mitigate this heat-related health issues. Because as we are public health. We focus on public health, right? It's global health, advocacy, and research. So basically, we are focusing on the health aspect with the whole migration baggage has so many offshoots, right? And so we are entering it from the point of health because that's what we understand. We take care of health, right?
No, I love that too.
So we really want to do this as a short-term project. We would welcome any collaboration from anybody who wants to jump in and help us do that.
No, of course. And I think that's a big reason we wanted to do this podcast as well, right? I think the two of you and everybody on the team, I know there's people from all kinds of domains that have connected to this project that I think to make the impact that's needed, you need all sorts of people, right? Like you said, right? Not just doctors or anything like that. There are people that know even in terms of policyma ke chahincha, they can social media, they can all kinds of people. And, that's our hope as well, that through this podcast, we welcome people that are invested in this issue, okay? right? I think that's the main thing. And if they connect and if they help out in any way, I think, we'll all be a little better. त्यसैले that's the hope.
That really is the hope, because the scope of the issue is so heartbreaking. Like, how can we be okay with everyday lives, dead coffins of dead brothers and sisters are arriving every day? And how can we be okay with it, right? And we have enough manpower and resources, human resources, to actually want to do something about it. And at least our hope can be, okay, let them go in a healthy manner, come back in a healthy manner. Let them generate all the revenue they're generating. We're not even going there. But let them come back healthy. Let's make sure that they are healthy, that they're well taken care of.
And it's ironic, funny.
Yeah.
Right? Because the country runs on remittance, right? Of these people that are, in terms of how they're treated, in terms of that lack of information, in terms of prioritizing them, they're treated as third-class citizens, right? So
they are.
It's so heartbreaking.
Because, we, in our event that we did in Nepal, we invited 2 of our migrant workers who ended up with kidney failure, Sagar and Surendra. So we had a panel discussion, and they were sitting there, and they had the platform to complain to. We had the government officials there, we had the advocacy people, journalists. They could say anything they wanted right there, right? And what they ended up saying was like, we're doing good, like we are being taken care of. And I wanted to interject and tell them something, but then my point was also, the thing is they don't really have a voice, and that's why we have to be their voice. Because if they had a voice, they wouldn't be in that situation.
Right. Yeah. And I think त्यो अर्को, especially my diaspora को overall हेर्दाखेरि चाहिँ, what I also feel like is हाम्रो चाहिँ like we have these ups and downs, peaks and हुन्छ in terms of individual level को advocacy मा चाहिँ right? अब कतारको त्यो हुँदाखेरि everybody was really all about it, really everybody felt it, हैन? त्यसपछि life happens, we all sort of have other things, and it sort of dies down, right? त्यो is such a thing, right? तर I'm sure especially a migration को केसमा त it's sad when that happens, हैन? As you do everything that you need to in terms of that civic engagement भन्ने कि in terms of that push मा चाहिँ, what is your hope in terms of like individual मान्छेले चाहिँ, if they're reading यस्तो news, or if they're hearing about this initiative, what is your hope so what is your call to action in a way?
You mean just somebody who's just reading about this?
Indeed.
Such a great question, because I think every individual, even if you're not a social activist or person from a government, there are pathways through which you can help, right? One of the things is the optics with which you look at the migrant workers. Like, you want to look at them with respect. You want to think of them as your breadwinners. They're bringing, people are, you have a light on, and the restaurants have business, and the kids are going to school with a tie on, right? Because a lot of the revenue is coming from them. And as we're just talking about the formal economy that they contribute to. There's a lot of informal economy, which is under the table, which they obviously contribute towards, right? So we have to change the optics with which, that means the person at the airport should look at them with respect, like we look at our veterans with respect, Right. And so I think every individual can do that. Then, you want to create jobs. Perhaps if they didn't have to go, that would be even better, right?
Right.
You could employ returning migrant workers who are not employable, right? Mm-hmm. You could educate a child of a migrant worker, because now the disease, the person who has the disease is not employable. He has to go, for example, for dialysis 3 times a week and very wiped out. Like, maybe somebody can think of how to rehabilitate them, how to reintegrate them back in society, right? And then a lot of these kidney transplant patients, just focusing on kidney transplant, they need transplant as a way out. And so that costs money and resources. So anybody can help with kind, right? You can help with human resource, your talent,
somebody was telling us the 5 ways you can give, like, I think it's by Nile Da Shrestha. I don't know if you know him. He was like, there are 5 things that you can give it through your talent. That the 5 T's. I don't know if I can recall it, but ties, your connection, a talent, and then, oh boy, I think I've forgotten the other 3.
Time.
Oh, the time. Yes, time, right? Treasure, right? You can give it with your money. And there's a 5th one. You'll have to go look up. But anyways, you can always find creative ways of helping out any individual. So I think what Nisha did is she was in Nepal for a couple of weeks. Nisha Thapa, she's one of our co-founders, the board chair. She's written a book, and then she had a book reading, and then she decided right there that all the proceeds from the book reading is going to go towards a migrant worker transplant fund. So we have created a transplant fund through Nepal Development Society NEDS. And so our first goal is to create adequate value money, which is 4 lakhs each of them. They'll have to find their donors, but money shouldn't be the issue. Right. So she set up the seed money for transplant fund. So people can donate to that fund. There are lots of them. So this is how you can help. If you can give sweat equity, and everybody has something to give. If the thing is, there's so much problem in the world. There's so much sadness, and each one is called by their own calling. So you have to be called by this, issue. If you're called by this issue, there's no dearth of way that you can contribute.
Right. No, I so understand this. मलाई चाहिँ actually I'll share a quick incident. I think a couple of years ago, चाहिँ नेपालबाट had to go through Qatar and all of that. को त्यो फ्लाइटमा चाहिँ there was one person who was going for work. मेरो साइडमा बसिरहेको थियो अनि मैले like यो सिटमा बसेर के छ यस्तो भन्दाखेरि he said something like 20 पाउन्डको वेट छ मेरो छातीमा भनेर भन्यो के, राइट? अनि I've never forgotten it, के, राइट? त्यो
What did he mean by that?
त्यो the 20 pound suitcase and everything, right? So he's packing up his life and leaving his family and all of that. तर कस्तो सिम्पल हिसाबले भनेको थियो नि, he was अलिकति कस्तो इमोसनल पनि भइरहेको थियो होइन. अनि I remember I've never forgotten that line, okay? And one of the reasons, of course, this issue, all of that is there. We hear it so much. So there's a point in time, or there's something within that speaks to people, right? Mero lagi cha, I think that was the moment, and I, of course, I care deeply about it, and I'm honored to be a part of it. That it's sometimes we go through life and something needs to nudge us, okay?
Yep.
Malai चाहिँ I'm hoping this conversation nudges more people to be a part of it.
And the whole idea is to call a ripple effect, and it touches more people, and the people go out to do their own work, right? And you reach a critical mass, and then things start happening at a much faster pace.
Of course.
Right? So, Shailendra started with 1 shovel, right? And then slowly, like his team, we've come together and we're bigger and bigger. And so long-term vision is basically how many people we can touch, how many stakeholders we're able to get on our side. Because certainly, like, Ghar doesn't envision becoming this hierarchical organization where the founders are calling the shots, right? We're just creating a space and a nexus for people to come together. We'll have projects that we'll have clearly outlined goals and timelines. And then we'll just take one step at a time and hopefully have fun doing it. We'll build community while doing it. We'll do it without being angry, which is a challenge for me.
Channeling your anger in a more productive way, right? I think your initiative, your issue should make us angry. Okay? I actually hate that we're angry occasionally and then we move on. I think it should anger us, that we should channel it to solve the problem, not just point fingers at government or whoever. I think we all are accountable to fix this, right?
Yes. By anger, what I meant was this deep-seated heaviness of the chest, where it's also intermingled with sense of helplessness. That this problem is
too big of a scope, and how dare you even think of doing something about it. And then it puts you in this downward spiral where you stop taking any action, you know? And it's very common for people who are a nonprofit being angry, you know? So there's actually like, because I've been through it. So that's why it's like, okay, my challenge is doing this in a way that doesn't burn my heart, doesn't burn my own peace of mind, and that I don't lose sight of the bigger picture, right? Of the beauty of life that is also surrounds us. It's not all gloom and doom.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, but in a lot of ways, हामीले dehumanize चाहिँ गरेका छौँ, right? We just look at that as a number of people not taking care of themselves, coming back. So, you know, going back to what is our wish list, भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ I want them to be looked up as a hero. सबैजनाको आफ्नो आफ्नो स्टोरी छ. प्लेनमा बसेर आउँदाखेरिमा दुबईसम्म अथवा कतारसम्म कहिले बहराइनसम्म सँगै आइन्छ होइन. अनि हामी उस्तै त हो, एउटै माटोमा जन्मेको होइन, दुईजनै लाउरिएको हो. म चाहिँ अलिकति फर्चुनेट भएर म त्यहाँबाट अर्को लामो फ्लाइट लिएर वेस्टमा आउन सकेँ होइन. उनीहरू त्यहीँ थन्के. तर अनि मैले अङ्ग्रेजी बोल्न जाने होला, मसँग अर्को रङको पासपोर्ट छ होला, तर just because of that, how I am viewed and how people interact with me and how people interact with them. So that's one wish list. तर कुरा कति कम्प्लेक्स पनि छ भने at the same time, Preeti, this is a massive enterprise, right? And, we are talking like $10 billion plus every year. Let alone that money, if somebody is making 0.5% out of the transaction, right? We can do the math in our head. So this is a very, very powerful enterprise. So you know, earlier days, 2021 देखि हामीले यसमा काम गर्न थालेर मेरो सुरुको रोल चाहिँ वेस्टर्न मिडियालाई जान्नुभन्दा पहिला I used to sit down with them, talk to them, and then basically say, hey, we do not need any sensational journalism. We do not want any finger pointing. Why don't we approach this in a much neutral way? We do not want to jeopardize our labor market. त्यो भन्नेबाट मेरो रोल सुरु भएको, even before I wore the hat of a nephrologist. तर मैले भन्न खोजेको कुरा चाहिँ के भने हामीले एउटा सानो समुदायले दिनरात एङ्ग्री भएर मान्छेहरू जम्मा गरेर यो गरे पनि यसको सोल्युसन चाहिँ पोलिटिकल विल नभइकन हुँदै हुँदैन. So one of the things we can do is यो Migrant Workers Act भन्ने कुरा निकालौँ होइन, जो मान्छेले यसको बारेमा, किनभने नेपालमा बसेर काम गर्ने युवा भन्दा नेपाल बाहिर काम गर्ने नेपाली युवा धेरै छन् अहिले. भनेपछि त this can easily be a political issue as well. त्यही भएर जो मान्छेले यसमा आवाज उठाउँछ, जुन पोलिटिकल पार्टीले फिलोसफीले यसलाई चाहिँ समेटेर लान खोज्छ, तिनीहरूलाई पनि पोलिटिसियनहरूलाई पनि अलिकति बढी अकाउन्टेबल बनाउने हो कि. Really, really unfortunate story is हामीले यस क्षेत्रमा काम गर्न थालेपछि there have been people who approached us. They're asking us for data, right? What data do you have? What have you generated? हाम्रो काम होइन नि त डेटा निकाल्ने त. डेटा निकाल्ने काम तपाईँहरूको हो होइन. तपाईँहरूले हामीसँग सहकार्य गर्नुभयो भने हामी अब बेलुका कामबाट फर्केपछि विकेन्डमा बसेर केटाकेटीलाई सुताएर यसमा काम गर्न तयार छौँ. तर डेटा निकाल्ने इट्स नट माई रेस्पोन्सिबिलिटी, इट्स द गभर्मेन्टको रेस्पोन्सिबिलिटी. सो आई थिङ्क त्यसमा पनि एउटा पुस गर्न सकिन्छ होला. अहिलेसम्मको हाम्रो अहिले प्रिभेलिङ कन्डिसन चाहिँ कस्तो छ भने हाम्रो गभर्मेन्टसँग डेस्टिनेसन कन्ट्रीहरूलाई लाउन आउनुहोस्, यो समस्याको बारेमा छलफल गरौँ भनेर भन्नुभयो भने टेबलमा कोही पनि आउँदैन. देल प्रब्ली जस्ट यहाँबाट गएको इमेल स्प्याममा जान्छ होला क्या. हाम्रो हैसियत त्यस्तो छ. So yeah, in that regard, again, you know, म चाहिँ अलिकति population science को पनि उ गर्ने भएको हुनाले हामीसँग डेटा भयो भने हामीले कन्भिक्सनको साथ टेबलमा जान सकिन्छ. मैले यतिजना मान्छेलाई यो क्लिनअप बेल्ट हेल्थेर पठाएको छु, 3 वर्षभित्रमा यो भएर आए होइन, त्यस्तो भन्न सकिन्थ्यो होला. त्यो नभएको हुनाले त्यो void अलिकति fill गर्ने कोसिस गर्दैछौँ तर we are so open to work and partner with anyone and everyone. I just wanted to add one more thing कि Nepali diaspora भनेको it's not only growing, thriving, but it's upward moving. We have so much potential that we have not put it together or channeled it together. There is so much people wished that they could give back. They just don't have a channel on how to do that. So I hope in the days ahead, we come up with a channel or a conduit to fill that void.
And exactly, I agree on that. So much work to be done, but it also is you oiliko this what we complain about your existing status quo, but a lot of people are also benefiting. So they are not incentivized to change things,
Right.
So there has to be alikiti systemic changes, funny like science at some point.
Absolutely. Yep. I mean, well, that was one of my realizations. Why? Because in Nepal is like things are not happening because there's a lot of force to ensure that things stay the same.
Right.
So there's a huge reality around that. And so how do you start moving in a very gentle manner, but in a very effective manner, right? Without alienating people, without blaming, bringing everybody to the room, and slowly making that progress.
It is such a sensitive issue, migrant workers, Cookie. I myself, in this short journey of years, have gotten pushback saying, why do you want to get into this issue? Why do you want to jeopardize? बाउले उता गएर काम गरेर यहाँ बच्चाले टाई लाएर सर्ट लाएर स्कुल जान पाछ चाउचाउ खाजा खान पाएको छ हैन तपाईहरुले यसरी उफ्रेर हल्ला गर्नुभयो भने बंगलादेश पाकिस्तान अनि अफ्रिकाबाट मान्छेहरु जान्छ अनि देशमा बसेर के गर्नुहुन्छ खै त रोजगारीको भनेर त्यस्तो खालको पुष्पा एकदम धेरै छोटो समयमा पनि पाइएको थियो अनि तर त्यस्तै ब्रोकन रेकर्ड जस्तै कन्स्टेन्टली जहिले पनि भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ our wish is not to jeopardize the job market. We want them to go, until and unless we create something back home. Down.
That is the reality.
Let's protect these young people.
Right.
Destination country ले पनि कुनै पनि देशबाट कामदार लगेर काम गराउनु भन्दा पहिला साइन गर्नुपर्छ उनीहरुले साइन गरेको हुन्छ आईएलओले म्यान्डेट गरेकोमा हामी यस्तो गर्छौं हामी स्क्रिनिङ गर्छौं बिरामी भयो भने छुट्टी दिन्छौं इन्स्योरेन्सले कभर सबैमा साइन गरे हुनुपर्छ त्यो छ डकुमेन्टमा तर हामीसँग के छ भनेर सोध्ने माग गर्ने पनि हैसियत छैन कि so that's why
is that actual हैसियत नभा or is that perception that
data नै छैन कि प्रीति data नभएपछि what do you back the argument with, right? And then if you do an intervention, how do you know whether that's effective or not? So you have to have a centralized data that has to be under the purview of the government, that doesn't change with the change of the government. That is part of the system that will be carried, and it won't happen unless all the political parties buy into this and think that this is something we want to do. And there are so many, researchers and data scientists and all these people who can help the government build this, and it should be publicly available. And that's I think is going to be the big piece that we want to push for long term. As well as policy changes.
But political will चाहिँ किन भएन भने this is not popular, right? कसैले यो इनिसिएटिभ लियो भने के निस्किन्छ भने नराम्रो कुरा न निस्किन्छ अहिलेसम्म मान्छेले डाउन प्ले गरिरहेको कुरा अब एउटा ठुलो समस्याको रूपमा देखा पर्छ भन्नाले एक त you risk putting some resources अनि यो अब politically पनि non rewarding भयो नि त अनि short term मा kick back केही भएन गेन केही पनि भएन अनि नेगेटिभ प्रेस मात्रै भयो अनि यहाँ फोर रहेछ भनेर सबैजना मान्छेले इग्नोर गरेर हिँडिरहेको बेलामा यहाँ फोर रहेछ भनेर देखाएपछि त त्यो देखाउने मान्छे नै हुने भयो नि त इम्प्लिकेट हुने भयो सो आई गेस अब त्यो पोलिटिकल विलको लागि चाहिँ I don't know how we're going to go about जनताले अलि बढी सचेत भएर अनि if people start asking like more accountability त्यो नभएसम्म हाम्रो गोल भनेको चाहिँ एनालिसिस र एडभोकेसीलाई सँगसँगै लिएर जाने, अवेरनेस पनि गराउने। अस्ति नै जस्तो अब पूजाले स्पेयरहेड गरेको थियो हाम्रो प्रोग्राममा, कति धेरै मान्छेहरू आउनुभयो। I'm sure a lot of people knew about climate change, but at the same time, a lot of people probably walked out knowing more about global warming and the threat that it poses to human health. त्यसै गरी अब कतिजना मान्छेहरूले सागर र सुरेन्द्र जस्तो यङ मान्छेहरू आएर हाम्रै कम्युनिटीमा बसिरहनु भएको छ। एउटै पब्लिक ट्रान्सपोर्टेसनमा बसेर सैर गरिन्छ होला, एउटै पसलमा बसेर चिया खाइन्छ होला, तर उहाँहरूको कथा पनि थाहा भयो मान्छेलाई। So that's what we'll be working on. And again, like just data. If we don't have data, then we cannot build upon. एउटा समस्याको समाधान गर्छु भनेर जाने, तर खोइ समस्यामा भनेर भन्दाखेरि
without data, I think they will just go around in circles. Yeah, right.
Exactly.
No, to make so much sense. Pooja, so maybe we're talking a little bit about that event, right? Within a few weeks, it was planned and executed so well. So many people came together. You were there. Tell us about alikiti, just in terms of some highlights, personal level ma pani, just and overall to event koma, and would you consider that like a success?
Right. I mean, it was, retrospectively looking at it, I think it was a success. It was incredibly stressful for me personally, because the thing is like, I only imagine like, oh, how amazing it's going to be. Everyone's going to come and help out and, right. but then of course the scope of the event was large and it kept changing, and also the resources, mainly in terms of time, was very short. And but things just happened organically, like we had so many people just come and help, and we anticipated do a small event where we're just going to be screening Too Hot to Work, which showcases how the workers all over the world, it's a global problem. The outdoor workers are subjected to hard labor in heat, develop kidney problem, and that's what the documentary is about. So that the plan was just to do that. Then it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And there's so many people, like you stepped in, Kashish stepped in. We had like Nisha fly in for the event to help out, my sister and her entourage. So we had a lot of like unplanned help. And my second sister, my middle sister, Ratu, was like, oh my God, this is too big of a scope. And she warned me not to do it because she's a project manager. But we somehow like the Muda Ball, I think we did it with Muda Balki and lots of, like just getting together. I think in Nepal are really good, because passion and enthusiasm is very transferable, right? And of course, this is a cause. This is a huge cause. So I think it went very successful by the metric that a lot of stakeholders were there. We had the political parties. We had our Sharat Singh Bhandari-ji, the current labor minister. We had the prior labor minister, Gokarna Bishtaju, and we brought it to the attention of many other parliamentarians who intended to be there but couldn't. We had journalists there. We had artists there. We had Ani come, and she was touched by it, and she wants to do something about it. There were physicians there. There were some lawyers there. And there was public, like a lot of people there. And it also instigated and made a lot of people uncomfortable, which was one of our intention, was to make people, just wake them up from this sort of what we call in psychological terms learned helplessness, like, okay, this can be helped, like just you can forget about it, right? So it woke them up, and so much so that there were people who started like getting up and wanted to resolve the problem right there while the labor minister was there, and started questioning him. And I didn't want it to spiral it down because I told the labor minister it's going to be informal. That was not the platform to actually solve those issues, right? And so we had people, but they were moved. And then follow-up of that, we had lots of people wanting to donate to the transplant fund. We have somebody called Mohini, who's like great. She's a media artist, and she wants to help out. There are writer friends of mine who want to step in and help out. There's so many more team. We enlarged our team, I think. And We also had good coverage in Setopati and Ratopati, and Himal is, I think, doing a story. So I think it'll go out to the masses. And the other highlight, which was wonderful, was we released Prakash Sapuji's Afay Nayak video that we collaborated with him about a year ago. We had this idea of how to spread the education to the grassroots. And, you know, my relative, Rupa Dikshit, said, hey, there's Prakash Sapuji. He makes a wonderful heartwarming videos on social commentaries, and you should definitely approach him. And so through contacts, through my sister who connected me, Survin Bantawa, who has this, you know, salon in Kathmandu where all the celebrities go to, I finally tracked him down. And a year
So that
ago,
was the reason you went to that salon.
Imagine like how you meet people, right? And so we and then Ned's, Dinesh and Shweta, we got together and we conceived this idea about a year ago. And so finally it got released this year. And basically through that medium, because he has such a mass presence, hopefully
Exactly.
we can tag that with educational content that will go to different people,
Right.
to
And
the
that
masses.
storytelling is so important as well, right? I think
Yes, yes,
sometimes
absolutely.
because we're desensitized to all of it, sometimes the numbers or we're over it, and so sometimes these stories in different mediums also really help us. So I
Right.
love that concept.
I mean, different people get moved by different approaches.
Things, right?
Like some people are just they get moved by stories. Some people like data, right? They look at data and it makes sense to them, and nothing else makes sense to them. So, and then we had Kiran Nepali, the Sarangi artist who had the Sarangi project, play for us Asare Mainama. That's how we concluded the event, because Asare Mainama is a migrant worker song it's a Laure's song who goes and he remembers his family, his girlfriend, and all the wonderful time he spent. And so it's the longing that he feels in his heart, right? So that's like Asare Mainama. I didn't really think of it from migrant worker thing. It's like such a popular song. So he played that. It was so beautiful. And I think that for me was the highlight of the thing. So I think it had the effect that it intended to have, although I had to reel from the stress for about a couple of weeks.
It is. I mean,
nature walk. Yes.
Not that I think it was, what I loved is I wasn't able to stay in Nepal for that event. But what I loved is it was so many people coming together, and it was such a good sort of milestone, okay?
It was.
In terms of that information dissemination and all of it. And I love that for the Ghar initiative commencing, because it was this amazing milestone. But now there needs to be more stuff that it
Definitely
was
good kickstart.
just a good thing. Yeah, so such a good thing. I would say the coverage has been great. A lot of people really felt it, and there's momentum happening already, right? A lot more people are talking about it. How do we keep up this momentum?
Right. I think that we're enough. I think we're enough people who care about this issue that we will keep going forward, right? Because for anything to go forward, first you need people who are interested in it, are passionate about it, are instilling the energy that is required for a jump start. Because in the initial phase, you always need a lot of energy. And then hopefully that'll translate into a system. And once there's an institution and a good system, then you can go on a more of a sustainable mode, right? And so we are transitioning from jump-starting this to creating these tangible goals. And then with the tangible goals, we always have to keep in mind the time and the resources, because that's not, and depending on the resources, our resources are, money. So we have to get grants, and human resources. We have how many people are willing to share their talent and ties and bring what they have to the table will determine how far we can go. But we can have what the corporations call the minimal viable product determined at the beginning of every year. What are we going to do this year? And I think we have those goals outlined. We want to expand the database slightly, as much as we can. Ideally, we'd like to do the same study that we did in one center to all the 60 dialysis center. And we're going to hopefully work with the government to have that, delivered in the shortest period of possible time with minimum resource as required. And the second thing is we want to focus on grassroots education, right? And so at least we have those minimum things that we want to do. And meanwhile, each of the members of our team have passion in different areas of this. So they will spearhead whatever they want and the others will be in supportive role. Right. So the way we structure this is we're going to do our own thing, but we have our collective vision, but we also are drivers and each of our little roles. So like Shailendra is more of the analysis sort of a person. I want to focus more on incorporation of our organization and keeping the infrastructure really good and this foundation solid so we can build tall. Nisha is very good in advocacy and, connecting to people. And then we have so many other people we have 2 CPAs, Jay Dahal and Sherchan and Sharma, who look at our, all the bottom line and all of that. Mm-hmm. And so this is our core team. We're not too many of us. And we have Anjali Pia, and Pragya Dalpadel. And then, we are hoping to recruit more board members as we go along. Right. So yeah, that's pretty much our plan. So the momentum is, I think a lot of people interested and passionate about this, care about this. And sometimes it feels like nothing's happening. But again, everything goes through ebbs and flow. That's the natural course of everything. Okay. And sometimes I like to use the metaphor of a seed. When you plant a seed and it germinates, you really don't see anything. It's all under the ground and suddenly you see a sprout. So sometimes we just have to step back and not do anything. And maybe that's the right course of action. So momentum and speed will probably be subjected to, the speed of the momentum may change, but as slow as it is, it may go dormant, but it's not going to die out,
Shailendra, maybe a little bit more details in terms of हजुरको तर्फबाट चाहिँ what do you see in terms of keeping up the momentum मा चाहिँ?
So there's certainly more interest and perceived engagement because Pooja has been approached by so many people. I myself have been approached by a lot of young doctors who are here and we just heard about it. How can we contribute? How can just put me to work? So that to me is a huge thing. But on the other hand, अहिले चाहिँ the focus has been more on actionable items. अहिलेको लागि चाहिँ there are 2 projects that we actively kind of working on, and Pooja was naive to not brag about it. एउटा चाहिँ content driven एउटा series that just does not talk about this issue cross sectionally गर्नुभन्दा it kind of follows through the story of what happens from the very beginning to how it progresses. त्यसमा चाहिँ पूजाले अस्ति भेटेको पनि नेपालमा गएको बेलामा एकजना प्रतिष्ठित जर्नलिस्ट साथी हुनुहुन्छ who was also very integral to the production of the documentary that we screened. Shankar Dahal ho उहाँको नाम. So we're working with him in creating a more sort of a content-based एउटा product that we're hopefully be unrolling soon. अनि अर्को कुरा चाहिँ I've been able to collaborate with some of the folks here र अनि we are going to come up with a product and a tool basically geared towards creating awareness about kidney disease and climate health. So पहिलो स्टेपमा चाहिँ we want to roll it to नेपालको middle school अथवा high school को setupमा र अनि if it really goes well in that setting अनि हामीले त्यसलाई अझै परिमार्जित गरेर अनि हाम्रो target audience चाहिँ migrant workersलाई बनाएर specifically त्यो ग्रुपमा फोकस भएर कसरी चाहिँ how we can educate them, how can they be in charge, like what are the things they can monitor. त्यो दुईटा कुरामा हामी अगाडि बढ्न लाग्छौँ. But with regards to building a momentum, I think Pooja and the team with all that screening, I think there is enough buzz, so to speak, and there's quite a bit of media coverage. So it might do the trick. And soon enough we might see that germination like pop out of the ground.
No, amazing. Next time, both of you visit Nepal. धेरै टाइम त हुँदैन होला तर त्यति बेला चाहिँ what do you hope that यो इनिसिएटिभको तर्फबाट के चेन्ज भएको चाहिँ आइडियल वर्ल्डमा एन्ड प्र्याक्टिकली स्पिकिङ अल्सो what do you hope to see त्यति बेलासम्म?
मैले एकैछिन अप्टिमिस्ट ह्याट लाएर हेर्ने हो भने चाहिँ हामीले यो प्री एम्प्लोइमेन्ट डिपार्चरमा के इरेगुल्यारिटी भएको रहेछ अथवा हुनसक्छ भन्ने कुरा आइडेन्टिफाई गरेर एउटा रिपोर्ट बनाएर लेबर मिनिस्ट्रीमा प्रेजेन्ट गरेका थियौँ. Pooja, was it in December of last year, right? 2023?
Yeah.
Based on that presentation and the report that we had submitted, Shram Mantralayale चाहिँ, believe it or not, नेपालमा वैदेशिक रोजगारमा जाने मान्छेको स्वास्थ्य परीक्षण गर्ने ऊ चाहिँ श्रम मन्त्रालयको मातहतमा पर्दो रहेछ, not Department of Health.
And they're in silos. Do they like the health?
No. So Shram Mantralaya is in charge of controlling these independently functioning for-profit labs. And tara based on what we submitted, they were able to crack down on, Pooja, correct me if I'm wrong, 200 plus private owned labs. They identified irregularities where they were using wrong techniques and wrong methods and using the same kit to do the test on like 5 different people where it's supposed to be only one. Even at times fabricating the results. So that is based on wearing optimist hat. What we would like to see, I think, is that we would like to see a little more central oversight by the government, and anything that has to do with health. We would want to see that the Ministry of Health having an oversight on that. We would love to see the government of Nepal demanding some accountability from the destination countries. We would want to see some sort of a mitigative strategy, if you will, in place in terms of how can we stop this from happening.
Right.
Some sort of an intervention. Either this is in the shape of a video that plays in the Cleveland International Airport, or some sort of a play card that is given out to all the migrant workers, or some sort of a demand from the destination countries for need for more periodic screening, something along those lines. Pooja?
Yeah, I mean, we already have good protocols in place. We want to make sure that we see that we can trust that they're being executed properly.
Exactly.
Right. They already have a plan. We are very good in creating plan. Execution is the problem. Implementation is the problem, right? So we want to see that the whole implementation process is done really well, because there are lives at hand, right? And so if you just take that protocol and just make sure that they're getting the pre-departure orientation training properly, and there's a specific health curriculum there that also talks about heat, right? And they're getting laboratory tests before they go, and those lab tests are actually reliable. And then when they are there, the employees are testing their blood work somewhere for the high-risk workers at least every 6 months, right? When they're coming back, they're getting tested as well, right? And they have access to medical care there. They're not subjected to abuse in a work environment. And they have some way of reporting that. If they fall sick, their insurance actually not just covers their illness. Right now, what's happening is job ma kehi bhayo bhane chai insurance le cover garne.
Exactly.
But outside of job, insurance le cover na garne. It's like, how are we accepting those terms,
it only
right?
covers like accidents or something like that.
Exactly.
Like the के भन्छ रे त्यो ऊ lines are fine lines मा चाहिँ
Fine lines, fine print मा तिनीहरूले पाउँदैन के पैसा. फर्केर आएपछि if you go and talk to them, half of them like, we don't know how to claim that insurance because पर्चा थियो, पर्चा हरायो, त्यस कारणले insurance कसरी claim गर्ने थाहा भएन. त्यो त अति भयो नि त हैन, त्यो त भएन नि, त्यो त एकदमै simple कुरा these are not big things, and we don't need big things in place. We just need things that is in place to work, right? And so we just want to see that they've invested. I don't want to say they, because, we have helped the government, and all the different stakeholders have helped the government be, and there's a protocol in place that works. That's simple. Like, as the next step, just make sure what we have in place works, and it's reliably does so day after day, and there's some way that we're capturing the data so we can monitor what's happening. Do we know there are no more coffins arriving at TU? Well, we don't know. Has it slowed down? We don't know. Where's the data, right? Do we know no more dialysis patients are coming into the new centers? Well, maybe like they've done some intervention in Gulf countries, like they don't have a midday break. If the wet blood bulb globe temperature exceeds a certain amount, they shut down the work. But has that really trickled down to our workers? Is that working? We don't know. Well, why do we know? Because we are not carrying the data. So it pretty much boils down to the basics. We need database. So we want to start a process through which we can work with the government or help the government create a centralized database that all the public has access to. And we want to ensure that the process in place actually is implemented the way it should be.
And there's some level of check and balance pani ke,
Some
because
level of
I
check
think
and balance. Third party, या त सबैमा audit हुन्छ त.
exactly. नेपालको केसमा चाहिँ that's what we're seeing as well. हाम्रो some of our initiativesमा चाहिँ when हाम्रो तर्फबाट third party ऊ हिसाबले सोच्दाखेरि चाहिँ there's always a lot is given to एउटा कुनै entity भनौँ न, and there is nobody else to verify it, and त्यो नै छैन के. So त्यो अलिकति some kind of structure हिसाबमा पनि अलिकति is needed.
हाम्रो institution र systemमै invest गर्दैन के. And we rely too much on one person's energy. मुडे बल के एकदम धेरै. I also function that way. I'm trying to be more organized, but I think that's innate to being
sustainable हुँदैन.
Right.
And probably, at some point when अलिअलि मान्छे मात्रै जाँदा, maybe it worked to sort of have it the way it is. तर अहिले आएर the scale of people going out is just insane, right? So needs to cater to that as well. So तर आजको लागि चाहिँ हजुरलाई मेरो final question भन्नु पर्दा, right? I think there's so much that we can talk about. र हाम्रो hope चाहिँ के छ भने this, यो 1 hour or so भए पनि it starts a conversation, right? In terms of the work you're doing, in terms of, what more can be done भनेर. तर आजको लागि last question चाहिँ, what is your hope from one, media, right? Because media has a big part to play in this. And two, Nepali diaspora भनौँ न, in general को चाहिँ, we talked about a lot of things. But what is your hope going forward चाहिँ?
Reeya, the thing about Nepali diaspora is we all love Nepal. We care about it. Everybody has a will to do something, to give back.
Right.
यो चाहिँ मैले मेरो interaction over the course of decades with so many people here भनेको तर what is lacking is एउटा चाहिँ त्यो will भए पनि अब like how do you turn that wish or will to action, अनि what is the channel? So मेरो विचारमा सबभन्दा ठुलो void भनेको चाहिँ we lack that channel, and I really 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 hope from the bottom of my heart that organization like yours and then to some extent our organization will function or will come up as to fill that void and act as a conduit that can channel all the will and all the wish that folks here in Nepali diaspora all over the world have, so that we can channel that to Nepal in a much effective way. With regards to media, I think we have to give them all the credit. मैले यस विषयमा काम गर्न थालेर अलिकति पछाडि फर्केर हेर्दाखेरि चाहिँ I saw that they have been talking about this issue at least since 2014. उनीहरूले कस्तो पनि data quote गरेछ भने if we do not act on this, if we leave status quo,
International media.
these many deaths will happen. But international media ले त्यस्तो पनि कुरा गरेछ अनि नेपाली मिडियाले पनि राम्रोसँग कभर गरेछ नेपाली मिडियामा मैले एकजना जनक नाम बिर्सेँ उहाँको लास्ट नेम उहाँले एउटा कहर भन्ने एउटा युट्युबमा हेर्न सक्नुहुन्छ त्यहाँ एउटा डकुमेन्ट्री पनि छ अनि he wrote a book about the social cost of migration. This is not about health, this is not about economy, but this is about your entire generation grows up without the father figure in their lives.
Exactly.
अनि भन्नाले मैले भन्न खोजेको कुरा के भने मिडियाले चाहिँ चाहे वेस्टर्नर्स चाहे नेपाली काम चाहिँ गर्नुभएको छ हामीले बरु एज अ साइन्टिफिक कम्युनिटी चाहिँ we failed in a sense that we just left this void. अनि त्यो भएपछि के भयो भने मान्छेहरूले बाहिरबाट आएर आफ्नो आफ्नो न्यारेटिभ त्यसमा भर्न पाए अनि अब मिसइन्फर्मेसन डिसइन्फर्मेसन डिनायल
agenda driven
exactly agenda driven काम भयो. So I mean truly I admire the work that the media have done and they have continued to do. Pooja, do you have anything else to?
No, I think you covered pretty much everything I wanted to say. I think media, it would be really helpful if media continues to participate in this as a stakeholder, not just as a reporter. Like be a stakeholder. And then I think they have a huge role to play for making all the other responsible parties accountable, right? And so, and then, integrity of the media and I think these two aspects is something that I wanted to emphasize. Be a stakeholder, not just a reporter. And I think with diaspora, I think it's like we're the sun and the sun scatters its rays everywhere. There's so much potential, right? But in order to make a little hole in a paper, you have to get a magnifying glass and you have to concentrate it. So it's like that. We have to organize, and that's organizing. We have to organize towards a goal. We're really good at that if something really bad happens, but we should be able to do that even with anticipatory issues that may arise in future and proactively go towards a direction. I think a cause like this is worth uniting towards, let our migrant workers have a healthy life, let them thrive, let their family thrive, let us all take care of them because they take care of us, or so many other causes to be after. But I think we need to learn how to organize ourselves better. And a platform like yours is so amazing, Preeti. You've connected me to so many people. And, I think you're already doing that. So, and we also have to connect. So you're doing the professional. There's also, the other Nepali diaspora, the non-resident Nepali. In some way, if we can communicate with them too, because I'm sure this is an issue that they'll feel very strongly about, irrespective of their political standing or following, right? And in some way, if we can organize behind these larger causes that affect our Nepal, which is our true Ghar, right? We are here, but we are there too, all the time.
Of course.
And the good thing is because of technology and, how small the world has become, we are carving a life in both the places.
Exactly.
So I think,
and then we are lucky enough to do that as well, right?
True.
We are very lucky enough. We worked very hard too.
Right.
And also, you can keep going in this track, but we've decided to do that. And that may not be everybody's cup of tea, right? But we wanted to do that. And so far, we're able to do that even through work, even if we can't be there physically, right?
Of course. No, and I think that's the point, Pani, right? Not everybody has to start their own non-profit or, go to Nepal or work on the grassroots level. But if people are doing something that is meaningful, how do we support it, right? And there's so many ways to help out. It doesn't matter if you're a student, if you're just starting out, you can use your time, your skills, if you have money to donate, you can do so much. Okay, so अहिले आएर Right. There's no, people don't also have an excuse to say, okay, mero ta ke pani chaina, I'm just starting out one. And I think all of us can contribute, right?
Yes, everybody can contribute, except that people, are so in US, how life is. It's all consuming, right? And so like not everybody has the bandwidth to think about what's happening to the world, how can I contribute. It's in some way it's a luxury to be able to, or some of us are just like way too sensitive, it just gets to us.
Right,
Right? But people, life is, people are working really hard. And
right,
like Shailendra has worked so hard. He works full-time job. He has 2 kids. So,
And he still makes time for this,
but he
right? It's
makes time
still
for this,
important.
right? So because it's a calling for him. It may
Of
not be
course.
so for so many. So, but you can get involved if you want to get involved. I think if you want to
Right,
get
right, right,
involved, you can
right.
find a way to get involved.
Right, right. No, I think हाम्रो hope चाहिँ with what we're building, the Great Nepali Diaspora and beyond मा चाहिँ कस्तो छ भने अब I think this is such a good timing for our diaspora to be really intentional, okay? Not just be like, oh, मेरो नेपालको माया लाग्छ तर I'm not going to do anything चाहिँ that doesn't cut it anymore, right? If you say you love Nepal, you have to do something. And there's so many ways to do something भने पनि there's so many projects like yours, initiatives like yours भने I think our hope is people feel connected and people help out in any way, right? So that's our hope.
It truly is.
Yeah, perfect. Pooja Diju, Shailendra Dai, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you,
We
Preeti.
could,
This is
I think
actually
we
so
could
much
talk for more.
fun. This was really good. Thank you
No, thank
for
you so
giving
much
us
for your
this
time. I think
platform.
no problem at all. You've done so much. It's truly inspiring in terms of the cause र the work you've already put in. So मेरो hope चाहिँ के छ भने it really leads to mitigating some of the issues that we see. So best of
Really
luck.
hope
I
so
think I'm
too.
going to be
That's it.
there to cheer you on and help out as needed. But wish you all the best for this initiative.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Preeti.
much.
I
Thank you.
hope this
And
is
thank
just
you,
the
Preeti.
beginning of joining hands to.
Yes.
We'll be needing a lot of you and a lot of help from your organization. Tara, thank you for the platform, and hopefully, we'll have like more people who would
Join us.
not accept status quo.
Exactly. No, I have a feeling it's going to snowball into something
Wonderful.
much, much bigger. So
Thank you.
that's the hope.
Thank you, Preeti.
Yes,
Thank you,
thank you so much.
Preeti.